So welcome everybody to the Optimism Town Hall. Optimism Town Hall is a collaborative forum for discussions about Ethereum and the Superchain, with a special focus on community coordination and governance. We host bi-weekly events. Everybody's welcome to join. They provide an interactive space where everybody can learn about Optimism's development, explore opportunities on the Superchain and Ethereum, and contribute to important conversations about the collective's future. These are every Thursday at 18 UTC. We talk all sorts of things about governance, optimism, and new initiatives. And we host our discussions with community agenda games called Cagendas or OP topics. Cagendas like community agenda, collaborative agenda, where basically people can vote with reputation tokens like Optimism Fractal Respect, as well as OP, to decide the topics that they want to discuss. It allows the community to decide whatever is most helpful to discuss. You can learn more in the FAQ about how that works and RSVP and go to the snapshot space where we vote on topics and proposals for things we'll discuss. And everybody's welcome to watch our videos too. optimismtownhall.com/videos is where you can find these videos, as well as the Eden Creators YouTube channel. Lots of educational content there where you can learn about the growing optimism ecosystem. And like I said before, you can also gain influence and voting power in Optimism Town Hall events by joining Optimism Fractal events. At Optimism Fractal events, which occur an hour earlier, we play an on-chain social game called the Respect Game every other week, and by playing the Respect Game you can earn respect tokens, which give you more voting power in Optimism Town Hall events. You can learn more at optimismfractal.com to learn more. Everybody's welcome to join both these events each week. And overall, yeah, Optimism Town Hall is a great place to explore Ethereum, the amazing innovations going on in Ethereum around the world. So encourage you to check out the website and learn more and get involved. We are working with the Optimism Collective, Optimism.io, working to build a world that benefits all, owned by all, and working to reinvent the way that public goods and community-led governance work with a bunch of great apps and great builders like Base and Fractal and Mode and OP Mainnet, Varcaster, Rainbow, etc. So check out Optimism.io to learn more about Optimism as a whole. And also Ethereum.org. Optimism is scaling the values and the technology of Ethereum. Great vision, great things that are going on in Optimism. For today's event, we just had the Optimism Fractal, and now we're going to have the Optimism Town Hall. This is just a promotion. The Optimistics are the team that organizes and presents Optimism Town Hall, as well as the tools that help Optimism Town Hall operate. So I encourage people to like and retweet and stuff like that. And RSVP, lou.mosh.optimism town hall, and lou.mosh.optimistics is where you can get involved, and feel free to invite friends and so forth. Love to meet people and love to share the good word of optimism and Ethereum with you all. And you can check out the Optimistics event calendar. We host events each week between Optimism Fractal, Optimism Town Hall, and Eden Fractal, where you can learn more about all the innovations and applications and videos that our community is building. So optimismtownhall.com/videos, you could see our seasonal videos. So we're in our third season right now. We've also hosted some Retro Bitches episodes too. Each one of these have show notes where you can dive in deeper to the different things we've been discussing. In our most recent episode, we discussed growing together, a strategic evolution for fractal communities with Optimism Fractal and Eden Fractal, building on Tadas's article and an article that I shared. So great episode. Recommend people to check it out, and also to get involved with the discussions in the Optimism Fractal Discord if you want to continue sharing some thoughts about this. We got a pretty cool intro video too that Rosmari made here as well. But yeah, we have show notes for anybody who missed it last episode. Recommend you people join, and Rosmari just share the Discord. So lots of great stuff going on with the fractal communities in 2025 that we planned out at the most recent event. And you can see those all on the Eden Creators YouTube channel as well, where you can find Optimism Town Hall videos as well as many other great shows. So we also have a thread on the governance forum too on optimism.io/gov gov.optimism.io. I knew it didn't sound right. So you can check out all the things we've been discussing this season over here. And then for today's agenda, so I mentioned we always use Cagendas. Basically, the way it works is whichever topic has the most votes at Monday at 17 UTC is what gets discussed. And the topic that had the most votes is to play OP topics. So basically, OP topics is a way that we can have like a bunch of topics that we can decide throughout the event. And we have a list of topics on the agenda here for OP topics that we've been using the same OP topics kind of poll for the past like 2 months or so. It's actually the last week that it'll be open. And so everybody can see how it works here basically. But yeah, basically whichever topics have the most votes we'll discuss. And also if anybody wants to switch on to the next topics, you can just let us know. We have a topic moving system called Next Topic, where you can just move on to the next topic if anyone wants to propose the next topic. And these are the votes of the topics. And so nobody actually voted for this week. So we still have the most votes at Optimism Town Hall and Optimism Fractal 2025 planning. We discussed that a lot over the past couple weeks, though. So I don't know if anybody has any further thoughts on that. If you do, then feel free to share. Or if not, we could always just move on. I was planning to vote actually, but I didn't get a chance before the event. The next topic is Optimism Season 7, which we also discussed quite thoroughly back in 3 weeks ago or something like that. If you go into our video section, then you could see the past few weeks we discussed, after discussing the Growing Together article, we discussed growth strategies for 2025 again, and Optimism Season 7, and intro to our plans, stuff like that. So I feel like those topics have been pretty thoroughly discussed, but they are the top voted topics. So if anybody wants to continue discussing those topics, then feel free to let us know. And formally, according to the rules of the game, those are the topics that have the most votes. So those are the ones that we discuss first. And if not, then we can move on to the next topic, which is the Optimism Fractal Respect Game mission proposal. Also, Will had proposed Idris social media, a couple topics about that too. So we could eventually get into all these different topics. Of course, we could also discuss them in future weeks too. But I suppose I'll just leave a bit of space there. I'll also let you know too that in this article, or in this OP topics topic poll, there is a link to this article, Seasons of Optimism, Topics for Optimism Town Hall Season 3, where it goes into an overview of all these topics, and you can see both how OP topics works and then like a little high level overview of each of these topics and the details about them. So if anybody wants to dive in deeper into these topics and find links to explore more about them, then you can. And my suggestion would be to discuss the Optimism Fractal Respect Game mission because, yeah, I was able to get that approved a couple months ago. We still haven't discussed it yet, and that has the third most votes. But yeah, I think I'll leave it at that and just kind of open the floor if
Let's
anybody
do
has any
it.
thoughts. Yeah, sounds good, Will.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Will. Does anybody else have any other thoughts before we start doing it? I think we're ready to do it. Welcome 14400, by the way. Thanks for joining. If you'd like to say hello or share a brief introduction, then feel free. You're welcome to. Or if you'd like to just listen in, that's welcome too. Oh, I see you're unmuted though.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all. Just happy to listen in. Yeah, I'm just curious about what you guys are up to.
Okay, so sounds good. You're very welcome. Thanks for joining. Hope you enjoyed the event. And if you feel like it at some point, then you're welcome to also unmute and share a little bit more about yourself as well if you feel like it. And yeah, I suppose we'll get into it. Got a thumbs up from 14400. So yeah, I'll share a little overview, I suppose, of the topic that has the most votes other than the two that we've been discussing so far, which is the Optimism Factor Respect Game mission. So like I said, this got approved by the Optimism Grants Council a couple months ago. We had several videos that we did at Optimism Town Hall maybe 3 or 4 months ago where I kind of gave a little introduction to this and a little overview into this, but hadn't really shared an update since it got approved because we had so many strategic discussions from 2025 planning and all, and figuring out Optimism Season 7, and like kind of took some time to digest it all. So yeah, I suppose I'll give an overview of this Optimism Factor Respect Game mission, and then if anyone wants to share any thoughts or raise their hand or ask any questions, then feel free to do so. So this Optimism Factor Respect game, it's a mission to support the well, I suppose maybe I should just provide some context. So missions in Optimism are ways that you can apply for funding to support specific forward-looking initiatives. Like if there's something you want to build in the future, then you can apply for funding. You set the milestones, you say why it's helpful, you answer the bunch of questions in the form. And then there's the Optimism Grants Council, which will review the applications and provide feedback and so forth. And then if they like it, they'll approve it. And this one, for the Optimism Fractal Respect game, I created this and it got approved a couple months ago. The project description is Optimism Fractal Respect game is an on-chain social game played at Optimism Fractal weekly events where builders network and collaborate, showcase their work, and give each other awards and friendly competitions to grow optimism. And you could see a whole bunch of details here. I'll just kind of give you a high level overview. So there's project details. I made a couple different versions of this proposal to get approved, and so you can see how it evolved over time. Asked for a code audit and stuff like that, and I talked about the various code audits, and then it asked to please briefly answer all the following details and all the following questions. So I'll start off with the brief description of the project and what it aims to achieve. And yes, I will share a link to this in the chat, Lena. And so, yeah, and then I'll also go into a little bit of the success potential, mission alignment, novelty, and so forth. And then there's also some other questions as well. But basically, what this project is a research project and a design project to design an automated, decentralized, and compliant fund distribution system for the Respect game and Optimism Fractal. So there's several different primary objectives of this project. One is to research and design on-chain infrastructure for automated distribution of funds based on community participation in the Respect game and on-chain governance protocols, such as the ORDAO application that Tadas has been building for a while. And also to develop a blueprint for a compliant fund distribution process and a legal entity structure that is integrated with the on-chain fund distribution mechanisms and necessary KYC processes. The third one is to design a framework for integrating the system with the Optimism Fractal community, which can test the framework and set an example for other communities and organizations. And fourth, a primary objective is to demonstrate how the Respect game can be integrated into core governance processes of the Optimism Collective, such as retro funding, Citizens House, and the Tokens House. And by doing this research and designing of this automated fund distribution system, I aim to lay the groundwork for a fair, transparent, and community-driven method for rewarding builders' contributions in the Optimism ecosystem, establish a foundation for a scalable infrastructure that can be used for larger fund distribution efforts in the future, such as retro funding, and create a blueprint that can be used to incentivize both broader participation in Optimism Fractal events, but then also any other community, such as Zal was here. He's a host and founder of the Zao Fractal, and many other communities that can play the Respect game or just use on-chain reputation tokens of other kinds to be able to fund people who contribute to these various systems. So it talks a little bit about how this is a really an ideal fund distribution mechanism. That is the Respect game, and there's all sorts of benefits of being highly scalable and harnessing collective wisdom and being sub-resistant and being fun and being a great way to distribute funds and so forth. So yeah, so that's kind of like a high level overview of it. Basically, that's kind of a lot too, but basically what it's aiming to do and part of the vision for Optimism Fractal from the beginning has been to figure out ways to fund builders in the Optimism Collective and on the Superchain and the wider Ethereum ecosystem. And so far at Optimism Fractal for the past year and a half, almost since we started Optimism Fractal, almost a year and a half, we have been distributing a soul-bound token, a non-transferable token, the Respect token, which is our reputation token, which has all sorts of benefits and use cases. But people who have been participating in Optimism Fractal haven't been earning any funds for participating. But it's really an ideal fund distribution mechanism. In fact, Optimism Fractal is derived or inspired by Fractally, which is this framework that was released a couple years ago for fund allocation and funding public goods and for helping DAOs cooperate, helping communities cooperate as decentralized autonomous organizations. And this this Fractally, there's a white paper, which the link currently is working, but I can bring it up later. But Fractally introduces a system. There's a detailed white paper which shows how fractals and what we now call the Respect game can be used for funding various contributors and builders in a very decentralized way, in a very credibly neutral way, in a very powerful way. And so for the past like 3 years or so since this originally came out, and we've been working with Optimism Fractal as well as other communities like Eden Fractal, we've been figuring out the best ways to basically distribute funds to people who are building. And in particular, this mission proposal I created is kind of a natural evolution of that, trying to figure out a way to do it in a compliant way. There's also other ways too that like there's lots of different mechanisms that could be used to fund communities who are playing the Respect game, and more so facilitate funding through the Respect game. And I guess for anybody who's not familiar, maybe I should also just pull up the link to the Respect Game's website too, or I should say Respect Game article. So the Respect Game is a revolutionary framework for community growth. It's an on-chain social game that grows communities and makes governance fair, fun, and naturally scalable. With an elegant consensus process, it helps communities unlock the collective wisdom of their members while ensuring contributors get recognized and rewarded for creating public goods. So basically, participants gather into small groups, so it can work at any scale. Like say if you have 1,000 people, or 10 people, or a million people, or whatever it may be, people go into groups of 3 to 6 people in randomized groups. They share their contributions to a shared goal. they collaborate to evaluate each other's work, and they build reputation through consensus. So at Optimism Fractal, you can check out optimismfractal.com, community dedicated to fostering collaboration, awarding public goods creators, and optimizing governance and Superchain. Optimism Fractal is really based around these weekly events, or I should say bi-weekly events. It switched recently, where we play the respect game, where participants take about 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, to share what they've recently done to help optimism, and then they rank each other's contributions, where people who helped optimism the most get the top level and the most respect, and people who helped the second most get the second most respect, and people up the third most get the third most respect. And it's all peer evaluated basically within this like fun kind of format. And based on that, when people are evaluating each other's contributions, it naturally forms a way to distribute funds. So currently we distribute respect, which is a soulbound token, but in that same way, it can distribute uh, a liquid token too, and funding such as the OP token. So if you go to the about section here and you go to the intent section, then you can see exactly how it works. Basically, people who get level 6, they receive 55 respect, level 5 receives 34 respect, 21 respect, 13 respect, 8 respect, and 5 respect, and so forth. And that's being level 6 is like who helped optimism the most, and level 5 is who helped optimism the second most. And so basically, like there's incentive for people to help optimism more, and then when you get put into a group with randomized, or rather when you put into a randomized group with other participants who are also building on optimism, and people have to reach consensus. That's another key point of it too, that people only receive respect if if the group is able to reach consensus with at least 66% of the people. And so there's that forcing factor that people have an hour basically to reach consensus. And they have to reach consensus or else nobody gets respect. And so people are incentivized, they have aligned interest to reach consensus, so that everybody can get respect, or in this case, everybody gets paid. And they have to do their best to try to figure out like the fairest rankings so that it's the fairest evaluation, so that it's rewarding public goods creators, it's rewarding people who contribute to the ecosystem. So that's like a high level overview. I think most people know it here, we just had the Optimism Fractal Respect game. A lot of us play each week. Everyone's welcome to join the biweekly Respect games for Optimism Fractal to get involved and try it out. But I just wanted to provide the little overview in case people aren't familiar with it. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, once again, feel free to ask or share any thoughts. Also, welcome Civil Monkey. Thanks for joining. Civil Monkey is a great innovator in the regen space too. If you'd like to say hello or share any thoughts, then feel free. I appreciate you joining. Hope you're having a great day. And I suppose I can keep going too if nobody wants to jump in, but feel free to jump in if you feel like it. So
Also, real quick, there's also an effort underway by someone in Eden Fractal that is kind of taking this into the nonprofit space. So he did his dissertation on this process out in San Diego, and so it's exciting to see that this sort of reputation-based voting is going to continue into different directions. It seems like a really valuable tool.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Abraham. And for anybody who's not familiar, Abraham is building the Fractogram app, which allows people to easily form consensus and play the respect game and that we play at our biweekly respect game events. And also several other communities are playing the respect game as well, such as the one he mentioned, hosted by Eric. And yeah, I guess I'll just pull up briefly too. So EdenFractal.com, this is the other community that we host biweekly events for as Optimistics team. It's a community dedicated to optimizing collective decision making through collaborative research, development, education, gamification, community engagement. And this community has basically been pioneering what we call fractal democracy and the respect game for about 3 years now or so. Well, since 2022, about 2.5 years, but also the history of the Eden community goes back to early 2021, which is about 4 years. So basically, we've been pioneering what we are now building with respect game for 4 years. And I think I was going to bring up something else there, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But that's just for some context there for the Eden Fractal community, so people can learn more about it. there's several other communities. Oh, and the reason why I brought this up too was because the vision of Eden Fractal is that all communities and organizations have the tools and methods to make the best possible decision making, fair, fast, and fun. And Eden Fractal has a mission to implement fractal decision making process throughout society via collaborative research, development, education, gamification, and community engagement. And there's an article here about what are fractal decision making processes. Basically, the respect game is a fractal decision making process in that. And the reason why it's called the Optimism Fractal or Eden Fractal is because we go into these breakout rooms. So it's similar like how nature branches out and you have trees that branch out into their branches, that branch out to their smaller branches, that branch out to their leaves and so forth. It's taking that inspiration and these cues from nature to help humanity and to help communities and help organizations cooperate better than they'd otherwise be able to, because traditional governance structures always fall prey to various forces, like they get corrupted or they're not able to basically to be able to represent the will of the people. There's a small amount of people who get in power, and there's all sorts of stuff and all sorts of issues with traditional governance structures and traditional funding and traditional frameworks for funding public goods that don't work so well. And so ever since this idea of the respect game and this fractal decision-making processes were created, and we've been developing them for the past 4 years, we've realized how we could use the respect game in not just Optimism Fractal, but in all different communities and organizations to help communities govern themselves better, help organizations govern themselves better, and also to distribute funding to people who are really contributing. So it's not just like people getting it's not just like people getting favors because they know somebody, but there's this credibly neutral process where people go into these randomized breakout rooms and they rank each other's contributions. And there's an elegant system where each level receives about 60% more respect than the next and so forth with the Fibonacci ratio. So there's more details about this at edenfractal.com, but I suppose maybe we'll get back into the proposal now that we have the basics of the respect game established. So, yeah, so I'd mentioned there's many different ways that you could build a funding system around the respect game, because basically with that same kind of ratio that you distribute respect, you could also distribute funding. And the original idea of that fractally that I showed you before was that each community could have its own liquid token, and they could use that liquid token, put it into a liquidity pool, and then each community has their own token. Like, for example, in Optimism Fractal, we have the OPF token, which is a soul-bound reputation token, and you can't trade it. In the original idea of fractally, that was a liquid token, the respect token, that you could be able to go to an event and then earn that token and then sell it. And so maybe make, I don't know, $100 or $1,000 or $50 or $1 million, how much it could be, but you could basically trade it for dollars or trade it for Bitcoin or ETH or whatever. And so we've been researching that. The Fractally community started something called the Cagendas Fractal, and they're planning to do that, but they kind of backed away because people weren't sure about the regulatory situation. It's changed a lot now in the United States, at least for the past since about a month ago or over the past couple months. So that's something that may be worth considering. Having that liquid token back to be able to like instill that in some different ways. But this specific research project is focused on figuring out some sort of compliant way to distribute funding and specifically to distribute OP to people who participate in the respect game at Optimism Fractal. And not just being compliant, but also being decentralized and automated so that it can work with the financial system and be like totally legal and legit and everything like that, but at the same time being as decentralized and automated as possible. So that's what I was specifically aiming to research here, to enable this version of a funding system with Optimism Fractal and the respect game. So it goes into a bit of overview about the success potential, goes into my experience and my track record and so forth. You can read there. It also goes into the roots of it. This was the core consensus mechanism for the respect game was created by Dan Larimer, who's a visionary innovator whose projects have reached over $23 billion in evaluation and paved the path for many of the most popular on-chain protocols today. He's a founder of several different initiatives. I'm also a founder of Optimism Fractal, Eden Fractal, Optimistics. Optimistics have been, by the way, if anybody's not familiar, building the tools and software for Optimism Fractal, as well as many other communities too. You can check out optimistics.io to learn more. And especially if you go to tools too, this shows the tools that we're using for the respect game and for making decisions with respect. We have 2 flagship applications, or maybe 3 in a way, because they kind of serve different purposes. There's the Respect.Games app that you can see on the left, Fractalgram that you can see on the right, and then the ORDAO smart contract infrastructure that Tadas has been building. They each play different roles, and they benefit each other in different ways. But these are all protocols and tools that we leverage as part of this fund distribution system that we've been building to enable people to earn funding and to fund public goods. This is really very aligned with the Optimism Collective's focus on public goods and retro funding. But yeah, I'll continue though, because I still haven't finished most of this. So I'll try to speed up a little bit here. And of course, feel free to jump in at any point. Thanks, Rosmari, for sharing those links in the chat. If anybody wants to dive in deeper to any of these, then Rosemary's been doing a great job sharing those links where you can find more. Thanks for the heart as well, and I hope that everybody's enjoying it. So also my apologies to I'm a little bit sick, so I'm a little bit off today. So I'm trying to do my best here, but hopefully it's not too noticeable. So anyway, the concepts behind behind their set game is also rooted in this book, Mortal Animals, The Subtle Art of True Democracy too. So just for a bit more background context. And we've played the Respect game at over 55 events now, or 55 events actually at Optimism Fractal, as well as Eden Fractal has played about 75. Zao Fractal has played about 35. Many other communities have played these Respect games. There's been hundreds of implementations with hundreds of people playing these, and we have really excellent feedback too. This is curated on the optimismfractal.com/feedback page, where you can learn more. And so that goes into a bit of detail about the success potential, and then I can move on to other parts of this proposal, where I can kind of get more into the details of what actually the proposal is for, and some of the other exciting aspects that it's not just about the fund distribution system, but it's also building like this kind of larger game around the Respect game too that I can share. But first, I see that Will raised his hand, so I'll pass it over to Will. Curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, just on the milestone portion of this. So right now, we're pretty much on milestone number 1. Is that the phase that we're in with this?
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks, Will. So there's 6 milestones here, and the first one I have, it's due in about a week. That's completion of the initial technical architecture blueprint. And then I also have a governance strategy, integration document, legal and compliance framework development, a role-based reward allocation system, a user experience design for the system interface, and a prototype for the game of user interface that I'll be delivering over the course of the next 8 months or so. But yeah, the first step is the initial technical architecture blueprint, where I'm kind of giving a general overview of it, which I'll have out within a week. So, thanks for asking. Okay, people are eating lunch and stuff like that. Rosemary say thanks. Thank you, Rosemary and Lana, for the support. Much appreciated, and hope that you're enjoying your apples and food and stuff like that. Glad to hear. Did somebody else speak there? Is that Rosemary?
Yes. Hey, Dan, thank you. I'm interested in this first milestone. Can you please let me know what you have to do there? And yeah, how are you getting on with that one? And do you feel like you have the knowledge, or like how much of the actual like research you're going to do moving forward in a way, versus how much you already have or know and you have to kind of type it out? And because I know you're probably aware of most of these things already, but you have to kind of put it together in writings. But how much of that mission you think is something that you actually have to research and get to know for the first time in a way?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Rosemary. So I have a pretty good idea about a lot of it because I have been researching this pretty extensively for well before I created this mission for the past probably year and a half or something like that. I don't have all the pieces yet together as far as how it worked with the KYC, and that's also some feedback that I received from the both the grants counselors and the developer advisory board too about how the KYC confuses it, and it makes it more difficult. The and actually, if I were able to do just as a bit of a just as a bit of a digression, if I were to do this again, I would probably make a more general mission that was more about just exploring all the different funding pathways for using the Respect game, because I think that would maybe be more helpful in some ways. So this is like a very specific kind of way that you could fund, and I mean, it's not so specific, but just like this is figuring out basically how to make it work with this like automated on-chain KYC version of it, which I think is like super helpful and necessary. But I would really like to see all these different ways of funding with the respect game be able to come to fruition. Because like, for example, the version that Fractally shared in the Fractally white paper, which I could pull up, it's like all like fully documented basically. And it shows how you could like, there's like a 50-page paper that explains how people could earn funding from it. Basically using the respect game, and how like there could be liquidity pool set up and stuff like that. I think that it's like basically like just needs to be implemented. And the reason why it hasn't been implemented is because of people were scared of the regulations. They didn't know what's going on. But like this could be implemented like pretty quickly. Like and actually the respect.game that Vlad has built for the respect game actually like already has it implemented basically. And it's just a matter of just growing adoption and increasing usage. So like I would also like to raise awareness for this too, just as kind of a digression, because in a lot of ways this can create more independence for communities and be more empowering for communities too, to have this system that doesn't have those different things like having to deal with the KYC and stuff like that, and enabling like truly decentralized communities in a similar way how Bitcoin launched, where people didn't have to KYC to like mine Bitcoin or something like that, and it's just been something that's been like basically anybody can play basically and just contribute to a community. And ultimately, I think that's a really compelling vision, and that can be really helpful. But we also want to make sure we do it in a great way and a way that protects community members and community hosts and so forth that are interacting with this. But I also just want to bring that up because this is also related in that's another way to fund communities and organizations through the respect game as well. I think is already quite well thought out. As far as my deliverables here, so I'll get to the initial technical architecture blueprint shortly, Rosmari, but first maybe I'll just explain a bit more because there's also some really exciting elements of this that I haven't gotten into yet. And overall, I do have like a very extensive project where I've done a lot of research into like the legal structure that could be set up and the various systems that can be used to automate and so forth. It will take a considerable amount of work to put it all together over the course of the next months, and to actually implement it. There's a lot of things I don't know exactly about like setting up the legal structure and stuff like that. That's probably the part that I have the least knowledge and awareness of. But yeah, overall, it should be fairly smooth sailing. So, but yeah, first, before I share the technical architecture blueprint, I'll share a bit more about what this proposal entails. So, I talked about the respect-based reward allocation, and I've taken some screenshots of how exactly this funding would be distributed and the rules and so forth, and how it uses the Fibonacci algorithm from Fractally, where it transitions from archaic autocratic organizations to decentralized autonomous organizations. I really think that like this could be helpful for all communities around the world in like a major way too, just to kind of emphasize that. There's other elements that work in addition and synergize with the respect game and respect-based reward allocation. So one of those is the role-based permissions that we have with the Optimism Fractal hats tree. And one of the ideas here is we already have the hats tree, and we could have it where people can earn different hats that allow people to earn more at different events. So for example, if you have 200 respect, then maybe you can earn 1.5x rewards. And if you have 500 respect, then maybe you can earn twice as much rewards. And if you have 1,000 respect, then you can earn 3 times as many rewards. And I'd like to build this out kind of like if you ever played like World of Warcraft or like these kinds of different like role-playing games where people could like kind of level up and you could have like a really great interface, like a gaming interface. Like we have the respect game, but you could have a larger game around it basically, where people are participating, competing and so forth and leveling up and getting different skills and so forth. And that allows them to have both different permissions within the community, such as Optimism Fractal, but then also be able to earn more OP as well. So those are some ideas there. It's also meant to be integrated with the Orec and the ORDAO for being able to decentralize executive actions. So we basically want to do on-chain actions based upon respect, which is already in operation, but just integrating with that where the ORDAO council or the ORDAO board or the ORDAO community could basically help distribute that funding or at least send some signals that would be distributed. And Yeah, I suppose one of those things is like, or I suppose one of the things I wanted to add in more detail is while there is benefits to that approach I was mentioning with Fractally and having that fund distribution system where people can earn like a liquid respect token, there's a lot of benefits to having this non-liquid and this soul-bound respect token. And we've discussed this in so many events over the past couple of years. And so having it where you have it where there's like, so I was listening to a talk by this guy named Gabriel Shapiro the other day. He talks about Borgs, and Borgs is the idea that you could have a DAO, like a decentralized autonomous community organization, and then you can have a Borg, which is like a company that's set up to execute the will of that community, basically. But by doing so, that by having that company rather than like the community itself making those decisions and the company's just basically executing on what the community wants to do and taking that as like basically as signals and as recommendations they don't have to do, but the company still does because they want to support the community. That can protect the community from a lot of legal liability. It can make it a lot simpler where the community can just focus on just making decisions and not have to worry about like securing a lot of funds or anything like that. And so there's a really great value for those kinds of different roles. And so that's one of these things that this is aiming to solve for, basically, to figure out that structure. Like I've been looking into nonprofit entities in the Cayman Islands and other kinds of legal entity structures like that that could basically do what the Optimism Fractal community wants to do via the ORDAO, where the ORDAO would send out a transaction saying, hey, we want to fund this initiative with, I don't know, 10,000 OP or whatever it may be. And then the legal entity, the LLC in the Cayman Islands or whatever, would basically execute that action on behalf of the community and then be able to be able to custody the funds and so forth, so the community doesn't have to take care of that aspect, but it's still automated and decentralized and done so in such a way that like basically the community votes to do with ORDAO, and then as long as there's no like vetoes or something that like comes up, basically it'll just automatically execute where that LLC will automatically execute the transaction. So it still maintains that decoupling, that separation, so that the independence of the community and the independence of the company are like that they're both independent, but it brings them very closely together so that it empowers the community with the abilities of that kinds of with the um, with the abilities that the LLC or the nonprofit organization can provide by being integrated with the financial system. So yeah, that's kind of a bit more detail here. I'm also trying to remember this a little bit because I wrote it like a couple months ago and I haven't reviewed it as much as I want. I see Will shared something interesting about on-chain companies for Web3 builders. I'll look into that. Thank you. And he writes, choose your jurisdiction, incorporate instantly, and control legal entities from covered in your wallet. Otercall. Oh yeah, I did look into Otercall actually. Thanks for sharing that design for Web3. So yeah, it's actually one of the ones I saved that I'm going to be looking into as a best way, as a potential tool to be able to facilitate this kind of fund distribution system. So yeah, a bit more detail about here. So descriptions of how we'll make the fund distribution system engaging and fun for builders, gamified progression with a visually appealing, yeah, I should say gamified progression with a visually appealing interface that displays players' respect scores, reward tiers, and progress towards unlocking new permissions and multipliers for rewards, similar to leveling up in RPGs. Real-time feedback where you can get rewards right after joining the Optimism Fractal event. Community-driven allocations where players can directly participate in fund decisions and vote with their respect. Transparent leaderboards, we can see how much people are earning each week, and different kinds of contributions. A quest system where people could like do side quests and stuff like that. And yeah, more details about the massive online role-playing game kind of design and respect trees and skill paths. There's lots of ideas here basically that will build upon and explore, but I won't go into too much detail. This also incorporates with the respect game shows too. The Eden Creators teams produces videos for each respect game. And we envision this scaling up to not just like one or two breakout rooms, but with many hundreds or many thousands of people playing the respect game at each event. And so people could be earning funds while they're on video, like kind of like a game show. Like you watch like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something like that, and people are earning a lot of funds. It makes it more engaging, more fun, more interesting to watch. So I could add that. I see Lana wrote, I have to run. I have another community call shortly. Thank you so much, Dan, for the community call. Thank you so much, Lana, for joining us. Much appreciated. Great meeting you.
Great meeting you too.
Hope you have a great day. So, and yeah, we do only have 12 minutes left scheduled. So I think I'll try to wrap up this presentation pretty quickly then, and then we could have some time just for open discussions if we want. Yeah, so it's very composable. Talks a little bit with competitors and differentiation, the current user base and estimation method, the steps to increase user interaction, target audience, user interaction, competitors, and so forth. You can dive into the proposal, which I shared in the link, or which I shared in the chat for more details. I talked about how much I requested there. I requested 10,000 OP for this, and it's there's a roadmap which talks about months 1 through 4 being the research and initial design phase. So there's also, in addition to the Otercall that we'll share, there's also a bunch of other legal and compliance initiatives I'm going to be looking into, such as Civic, Toggle, Onfido, Certic, and so forth. Also working on integrating ways to automate this on chain with things like Splits, Hats Protocol, and Hedgie, the roles and reputations system, which Jacob built, who has contributed a lot to Optimism Fractal and built the Optimism Fractal Hats tree. And then exploring outlining integrations between the Respect Game Stages Council and Orec and Automatic Councils. Another thing I'm planning to propose soon is an on-chain agreement to provide clear expectations and facilitate smoother interactions for participants. So like have an on-chain agreement that people can sign so everybody knows what we're doing here and stuff like that and is on board with what we're doing. And yeah, there's more details about how this will be sustainable over time, post the original incentives and the problems it solves for Optimism. I could go into this for a while, but just a high level overview. This could really provide a much more consistent and easy to understand funding method for the Optimism Collective. You know, like things like these missions are kind of difficult to learn about all the intricacies and make a long, detailed proposal. Here, if people could just join events from Optimism Fractal or other communities and earn by getting ranked and evaluated their contributions from other peers, that could be a lot simpler for people to earn and get and start contributing. And that's also a great onboarding experience for new developers too. They don't have to spend a lot of time like reading through all these documents and writing long proposals. They can basically just start contributing, joining events, and meeting new people. It can greatly help to improve the attraction and retention of builders because there's all these other benefits to the Respect game, like the networking, collaboration, and the relationships that get built. It also helps greatly in recognizing and evaluating public goods because people can actually, rather than having like read a long proposal like this, people could just see what people are doing, ask questions, and so forth. It enables the Optimism Collective to fairly distribute rewards in a very scalable way. So that was a major problem in previous rounds of retro funding, where either badge holders got overwhelmed because there was too many applicants and too many public goods creators to really understand, and badge holders didn't have enough time to be able to vote on who deserved what and do it in a really like fair way. Or in more recent rounds, retro funding started using systems like data-driven evaluations and some different kinds of experiments with like also doing some similar things actually with like small breakout rooms and randomized breakout rooms to use for fishing and stuff like that. But this system specifically with the Respect game provides like a powerful, credibly neutral way to distribute rewards that's extremely scalable because it can scale infinitely basically due to its fractal nature and do at the same time where it recognizes public goods in a way that say metrics-based evaluations can't do if you don't know what to measure exactly. So I can go into more detail on all those, but ultimately this will help the Optimism Collective and all communities around the world to more efficiently allocate resources. Should it be successful, of course, but I'm going to be working really hard to make it as successful as possible and to spread this around the world once we get established Optimism Fractal. And this can help while also distributing funds, also improving collaboration between developers, also helping community developers and builders showcase their work at events and promote their work and get involved with community governance and bring builders and users together and help get more feedback, all these benefits that we've experienced at Optimism Fractal Respect games so far. So yeah, there's more details here, but I think I should probably wrap it up. So you can explore more about the value propositions over here, which I kind of went over some of these things already and the growth potential. And then there's commitment to building an optimism and so forth. And then there's some comments here too that you can explore if you want, where I talked with grants counselors and the developer advisory board. And then the first deliverable that I'm going to be shipping within the next week or so is to develop and document a comprehensive technical architecture blueprint for the automated fund distribution system. And this document will outline the core components, including the integration of the respect token and smart contracts for fund distribution and compliance mechanisms. And the deliverable will be a detailed technical architecture document, including diagrams and descriptions of the system components. So this will basically be like a broad overview of the technical architecture. It's a lot of stuff that I shared here, but we'll be putting in rather this very long format. It'll be putting into a more concise and easily readable document that will also have that will also have diagrams, and it'll kind of just focus in on the key aspects to develop the system for the Optimism Fractal respect game fund distribution system. So I think that's it for me, and also good thing because my voice is getting tired. Does anybody have any questions or comments or any thoughts?
That was good, Dan.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated.
It's like a lot of work, but it's really great that you're trying to find, a significant channel to really do this well. I think that's good rather than just like trying to front load things and maybe get into trouble. I think it's really great that you're trying to do the research and do it right.
Thanks, Abraham. Yeah, I can also note too, during the Respect Game presentation, I shared that I also applied for a fellowship, the Next Billion Fellowship from the Ethereum Foundation. And in that fellowship, I also applied for a research project as well, where part of that is about funding and growth strategies for fractal communities, as well as other things about how it can benefit the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole and implementation kinds and so forth. So this works in sync with that proposal, should it be approved. And yeah, generally, I think that doing the research in advance can help a lot. Like, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot. I know Tadas has thought about this a lot. We've talked about it a lot over past episodes. And we could just jump into something and start, like start distributing funds or something like that. But I think that building up this like framework that makes it both easy for other communities to implement it and have a good idea of how to do it, and have like a really solid structure and infrastructure for it, will be very helpful for growth in the longer term.
Yeah, we're not building something quick here. We're trying to make something that lasts.
Yep, exactly. And this in particular, this Optimism Fractal respect game system, this can be particularly helpful. Like you mentioned, Eric is working with nonprofit organizations, and nonprofit organizations probably aren't going to be working in like a totally decentralized manner. Like I'd mentioned the Fractally white paper with liquid tokens and stuff like that. Maybe they'll be willing to do it. I don't know. But more likely they'll need things like, larger institutions and companies will need things that can interoperate with their existing businesses and their existing organizational structure and stuff like that. And this can provide a blueprint that both can support Optimism Fractal and our community here, and also all these businesses and organizations that are already operating in the financial system, but want to integrate the respect game to motivate their employees or volunteers or community or whatever it may be. Well, thanks. Appreciate the feedback, Will and Abraham. Curious, Tadas, Rosmari, Civil Monkey, 144000. If you want to share any thoughts, we usually wrap it up by top of the hour, but I'm happy to go a bit longer if anybody wants to share any thoughts about this. So feel free to share if you'd like. We'd be happy to hear any feedback. Or we can wrap it up too, if we're ready. Did that answer your question, by the way, Rosemary, that you asked before?
Yes. I'm curious, like about the blueprint and the diagrams, but maybe we can do another session where you can show us what you produced for that first milestone. I'd be interested to check what like your progress and keep track of it. But great work. Thank you for presenting.
Thanks, Rosmari. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll have 6 more milestones coming up, so I'm happy to provide updates along the way. We could even do it at the next event in 2 weeks if we want to. So yeah, by next week, I can also perhaps share this in the Discord, or I'll definitely post it on the governance forum for Optimism. But you can look forward to the completion of the initial technical architecture blueprint that I went over before that outlines the core components, including the integration of respect tokens, smart contracts for fund distribution and compliance mechanisms. And then after that, the next one that's due is March 7th, which is in about 2 months or so, which is how it'll be integrated with the governance system with ORDAO and stuff like that. I see Tadas said he'll be going. Thanks for the meeting, everyone. And 14400 says all good. Thank you, Dan, for this meeting. Thank you, 14400, for being with us here, and hope that you've enjoyed it. Appreciate the support, and yeah. Also, I see Will shared something about ETH Denver too, so I'll look into this as well.
Yeah, that's for the art gallery submissions. The deadline is February 9th. So yeah, I just wanted to resurface that, and I've got a hop as well. So we'll see you in a couple weeks, everyone. Thanks for the update, Dan, and going through this proposal in in-depth detail like you did.
You're welcome. Thank you, Will, for listening and sharing your thoughts, and thanks for sharing the ETH Denver website for the art gallery. Looking forward to checking it out. Much appreciated, Will. Hope you have a great day. And I suppose we can wrap it up then if everybody's ready. Last call if Monkey or anybody else has anything you want to say, but otherwise, it's been a great event, great Optimism Town Hall, and a great Optimism Fractal earlier as well. So thanks everybody so much. And I'll pull up the last window here. So thanks all for joining the Optimism Town Hall. We'll be here again on next Thursday in 2 weeks from now. I encourage you to join both the Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall events, as well as the Eden Fractal events too. So like I said before, these alternate in a bi-weekly schedule. So and next week on January 30th, we'll be hosting our Eden Fractal event, Thursday 17 UTC. And then we'll be back for Optimism Fractal and Optimism Town Hall on Thursday at 17 UTC for Optimism Fractal and Thursday 18 UTC for Optimism Town Hall in 2 weeks from now. So you can register at lou.masters.optimistics. Looking forward to seeing you there. Get involved with the Discord group and so forth. Thanks all for all the great feedback and great discussions today. Hope you all had a great time. Thanks all for watching. And sometimes we like to wrap up with a 3, 2, 1, go Optimism. So maybe that'd be a good idea to do here. Rosmari, what do you think?
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Civil and 14400, you're welcome to join us too. I see Civil is unmuted. If you want to share anything else before we wrap it up, Civil, then feel free. And otherwise, we're going to go 3, 2, 1 and go Optimism. And you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, thank you for the call. I was kind of here with one ear. Thank you so much for hosting.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much for joining. Hope that you're doing well. And thanks to the claps, 14400. Okay, cool. Everybody's covered too. Very nice. Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1, go Optimism. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Go Optimism! All right, thanks all. See you next time.
Thank you.